Hi there, this is Danny Flexen and welcome to SecondsOut FLEXpectations. We're here every Thursday, 4:30 PM to talk about the action that's coming up over the weekend. Now it's been a while, we've had a few low-key weekends, I think it's fair to say, over the last few weeks. But finally, the big super middleweight clash, the division that's hosted the likes of Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank, Michael Watson, Joe Calzaghe, British greats all. The big fight in that division's finally here and we get to preview Anthony Dirrell against Avni Yildirim. No, I'm kidding, obviously. The big fight is between, long-term grudge match between Olympic gold medalist, two-time world champion James DeGale and next-gen himself, son of a legend, Chris Eubank Jr, aiming to finally get that big win in a division his father helped define. It's got all the elements you'd want from a big fight. They really don't like each other. It's a long-term grudge stemming from a contentious sparring session around 6 years ago, where DeGale just thought it was a matter-of-fact, normal enough spar, same as any other, whereas Eubank thought that he absolutely dominated DeGale and said afterwards on Twitter, "I just schooled James DeGale." They've been going back and forth ever since. DeGale's been on the road, winning world titles, suffering injuries in the process, unfortunately for him. Whereas Eubank Jr has been attracting followers and detractors in equal measure, or maybe not so equal measure, maybe the critics have outnumbered the fans at times, but looking flashy, looking dominant against a certain level of opposition, but unfortunately falling short at the very highest level against Billy Joe Saunders initially, in a very close fight, and George Groves most recently in the semi-finals of the World Boxing Super Series, where it's fair to say he lost a clear decision and seemed, certainly in the middle rounds, out of ideas. DeGale, the biggest question about this fight, and I've recently written a preview for this fight for SecondsOut's sister channel, SportsBet TV, on their website. Not just a cheap plug, it's probably worth a little read, but some of the things I say here will be similar to what I've written in that. The biggest question about this fight and knowing where to put your money is DeGale the force of old, or can he be? Because I think if it was a case of prime versus prime, Eubank Jr would not be a narrow favourite with the bookies as he is now, and most people would be picking DeGale to win beyond doubt. He's Olympic gold medalist, he's a southpaw, he's slick, he's got fast hands, he's got good footwork, this is all at his best of course. But more recently, he's struggled against fighters that he should be clearly beating. Guys like Caleb Truax, who he lost his title to, and only narrowly won it back in the rematch. Badu Jack was obviously going to be a formidable opponent no matter what, but even before that against Rogelio Medina, Porky Medina, DeGale struggled there too. He's often caught with his back to the ropes, his footwork and his conditioning hasn't seemed to be what it should be over the last few years. He says it's down to long-term injuries. He had a really bad shoulder problem which had surgery before the first Truax fight. He said he came back from that too soon. He's also had a really bad problem with his Achilles, which has caused him to knock long distance running on the head. He's now getting his conditioning in other ways, swimming, airdyne bike, for example. And he says he's back to his best at the workout last week, media workout. He looked sharp, he looked very trim, chiselled, moving well. But that's just over a 10, 15 minute media workout. Under sustained pressure, which Eubank Jr will bring, for 12 rounds if it goes that far, can his body, and he's 33 now, he's had injuries, can his body hold up to that kind of stress? And that's the biggest intangible in a fight that's really intriguing. Eubank Jr, for all his technical limitations, is strong, fit, well conditioned, he produces a good work rate generally, he's got a bit of power, although maybe not so much at super middleweight, certainly at middleweight, and he's fast, he's very athletic. He's got a lot of natural gifts and he's worked very hard from a young age to get to the stage he is now. A lot of people criticise his lack of technical expertise, but what you've got to look at is look how far he's come as a professional without having that. Just through his natural gifts and his bloody-minded will and determination, as DeGale said, he's got a big pair of balls. Look how far he's managed to come despite his flaws. That's pretty impressive. And he obviously knows there's flaws there. As he's got older, he's matured. He's brought, for the first time in his career, a full-time, specific, tailored head trainer in Nate Vasquez into the camp. He also says for the first time he's got a game plan and a strategy based around the specific opponent he's going to fight. Also having a full-time sparring partner in Dennis Duglin, who can mimic DeGale. I know he's done a lot of rounds with Cody Davis as well, who's an excellent prospect. So he seems to be taking this seriously. Watching his media workout, there did seem to be a few kind of adjustments. There seems to be more head movement. His footwork seems to be a bit sharper. His defence seems to be a bit sharper. Again, it's only in an abbreviated time period. We've yet to see it when he's fighting a live opponent under the big lights at the O2 on Saturday. But he did look better. And he seemed to be listening, at least in parts, what Nate Vasquez was telling him. One of the issues I'd say is that against DeGale, it helps if you've got a really good jab, because DeGale's jab's good and he's moving all the time. So to dictate the pace of the fight, a good jab's important. Eubank's often been criticised for neglecting his jab. It's not that he can't jab, but he doesn't use it often enough or in the right way. Watching him in the media workout, he still seems to be throwing short-armed or bent-armed jabs rather than really thrusting it out there, using it as a weapon rather than just a rangefinder or to set up his power shots, his big hooks and his big uppercuts that he loves to throw. If that's just for the media workout and on the night we see a return to the kind of thrusting, dictating jab, then he's got a real chance, especially if DeGale is not the force he once was. But again, we keep returning to this. That's the biggest question. Is DeGale the man he once was? Can he get back to that top form that saw him beat guys on the road like Andre Dirrell, Lucian Bute? If he can get back to that, then wow, he should win this fight fairly comfortably, on points, I would say. However, if he's the fighter that fought Truax twice, if he's that same James DeGale, or if he becomes that James DeGale over the process of a grueling 12-rounder, then Eubank Jr can take over and either stop DeGale late or get his own decision. So that's what makes it a very intriguing fight. I am going to say that I think DeGale's probably got just enough left to win this on points. That's my official prediction, but it wouldn't shock me at all if Eubank was able to pull this one out. He seems to be taking it seriously for the very first time. He's had 2 big losses at top level. Can he really afford another one? And especially to James DeGale, who's someone he really dislikes. I would hope that Eubank will be the very best version of himself he can be. It's just whether those gaps from his education earlier in his life in terms of the technical skills that he really needs can be mitigated by the last 6 months of training with Nate Vasquez. That's up for debate. Also on the big bill, great fight at the top level. I know people say, should it be pay-per-view? Shouldn't it? I'll be paying for it. I think it's a good fight. One that I'm really looking forward to, and a very much a 50-50 fight at a higher level. So I like that. But also convincing me to part with my hard-earned cash, and I haven't got a lot of it, is Bermane Stiverne coming over, former WBC World Heavyweight Champion, to fight Joyce. Streaking British contender who's based out in California under Abel Sanchez now. Olympic silver medalist, someone we haven't seen enough of in the UK, but's coming back for this fight. Really nice guy, Joe. I've done interviews with him recently, which you can see on SecondsOut, the telephone interview we did, and also on the SecondsOut website, a written interview as well. Great guy. I'm doing plugs all around the place today. But yeah, really nice guy, managed obviously by Sam Jones, who Stiverne tried to get at the press conference yesterday. You can see that online as well on our channel. I think you'll find that pretty amusing. Stiverne has been inactive. He's definitely a good heavyweight at his best, but he hasn't fought often enough. World level win over Chris Ariolu, beat him twice, but that's probably the only world level wins in his career. Took Wilder the distance, was the first man to do so, but then got destroyed by him in the rematch. It's very hard to assess where Stiverne's at, and it's similar to DeGale, although for different reasons. Joyce has done nothing wrong as a pro so far. He's powerful, he's strong, he's fit. He's only got fitter working at altitude with Abel Sanchez, who will be working on some of the technical issues Joyce has got because he was a very late starter to boxing. There's still some refinement to do. But he's been moved fast, he's 32 years old, I think now, Joyce, and he needs to be fast-tracked, even at heavyweight, where guys can be a bit older generally, because they're not making weight, obviously, every time. Joyce, I would fancy to get Stiverne out of there. The earlier he gets him out of there, the better he looks. Obviously, I don't think he's going to beat Wilder's 2 minutes 59, although you never know. But it'll put him right up there. He's apparently targeting the WBA regular title that's currently held by Manuel Char. After going on the Wilder-Fury rematch undercard, if it happens, we hope it still does. But I expect him to get Stiverne out of there early, but make sure you tune in earlier for that fight. Don't just watch the main event. It'll be really exciting heavyweight clash, and it will be good to see how Joyce looks after spending 2 camps now with Abel Sanchez up in the California and Big Bear Mountains. Also, you can see the return of Lee Selby up at lightweight now against Omar Douglas. And there's a good Southern area title fight, I think it is, between Ricky Summers and Andre Sterling. I could be wrong about the title on the line, but I'm not wrong about the 2 guys fighting. That's a really well-matched fight up at light heavy, I think it is as well. So tune in for that. We love engagement here at SecondsOut generally, but specifically on FLEXpectations and reflections. So tell us below who's going to win out of DeGale and Eubank Jr. and why, who do you fancy? And we'll be back on Monday with reflections to look back on the card, and also back for the next FLEXpectations next Thursday, 4:30 PM. Appreciate you all, great stuff, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.